Hey everyone, this video is on adopting or shopping. So in this video I'm going to be talking to you about the pros and cons of adopting and shopping, my experience with adopting and my experience with shopping, a tiny bit about the Adopt Not Shop campaign, and I've got a bunch of other people's opinions and experiences on the subject. The first thing I'm going to talk to you about is the Adopt Not Shop campaign. This campaign basically just wants people to adopt rather than shop, as there are already thousands of animals in rescues deserving a home, and then the pet shops and the breeders create more homes, or create more animals needing homes, and then sometimes they end up in rescues, so the rescues get even more full up, and then the animals have to get put down. So basically they just want you to adopt, and you're also giving an animal a second chance at life. The next thing I'm going to talk to you about is the pros of adoption. So firstly, you're giving an animal a second chance, which is really good for the animal and it'll make you feel good in yourself. The next thing is some rescues, their animals come microchipped, vaccinated and neutered. Sometimes it's just one, sometimes all three, sometimes it's none of them. It varies from rescue to rescue, but generally that's what happens, and that will save you a hell of a lot of money. Since microchipping, it's normally about £10 or £15, so it's not too bad. But then vaccinating and especially neutering and spaying, that costs a hell of a lot of money, so you're going to save quite a bit. Also, you can get an idea of the animal's personality and whether they're suited to your home or not. So that's really good, as you might go to a pet store and with some breeders and you know nothing about the animal apart from like what gender and breed and colour they are. So you're going to go there and they might not get on with, like, say, dogs or cats, or they might not like children. So at least with a rescue you know, and you can get a match that suits what you want and suits your home as well. And if you have a local rescue, you can support them, as I know some people like to support their local community, so you can do that. And also you're saving animals from getting put down, and that's a really good thing to do because basically you're saving their lives. Next I'm going to talk to you about the cons of adoption. So firstly, you may not always find what you want, like if you wanted a specific colour or breed, and any rescues near you might not have that. Also, it can be a long process. It's not all the time, but sometimes it is. And some people may find that as hassle when they can just go out and choose an animal at a pet store. Some people aren't bothered by this, but then other people want a baby animal they can, like a puppy or a kitten that they can raise and get them to do what they want, because you can get old animals at rescues, and if they're really old, some of them can be like set in their ways, but not all of them are. So some people would want a baby animal. First thing I'm going to talk to you about is the pros of shopping. So firstly, it's convenient. As I mentioned in the cons of adoption, you can just go out and pick an animal at a pet store, but then with some breeders you have to reserve the animal and you have to wait a bit if they're not ready. But with a pet store you can just go out and pick one. Also, animals are young, so you can train them. Come on, they want to see your face. Let's see your facey. So you can train them to your needs and what you want, and they haven't, well, as far as you know, you haven't been through any major trauma like being burnt or abused, like some have at rescues, and they don't have like trust issues. Also, you can build a trust easier because of what I just mentioned. And also, if you know your staff, rescuing them from bad conditions and ignorant people getting them, and they're just stuck in, for example, the small pet, they're just stuck in a tiny cage getting no attention whatsoever. That's how some animals and pet stores and breeders live their lives, which is really sad. So you can like rescue them from that and give them a good life. So next I'm going to talk to you about the cons of shopping. So firstly, some stores have bad ethics and they're only in it for the money, so they don't really care about the animals' welfare, they just want to get them sold. Also, they can be sexed wrong, so they get genders mixed up, so you can end up with accidental litters. And if you wanted a specific gender for any reason, you might not get that. You can purchase pregnant or ill animals, and generally stores will cover vet bills up to a certain time, which I think is like 7 days, maybe, something like that. So then the pregnant animals, you're just going to like 1 or 2, but then you can end up with like 8 or something, which isn't. Also, you have to pay for the neutering, the vaccination and the microchipping yourself, if the animal needs it of course, and that is really expensive. Microchipping isn't too bad, but it's the other two, especially the neutering, are really expensive. Also, you don't know anything about the animal. You don't know its history, its personality, if it has any fears and stuff like that, so you don't know if they're suited to your home or not. So next I'm going to tell you about my experiences with adoption, and I'm going to start off by telling you my experience with Thistle. And here, hey! Hello, Bramble. Hello, Thistle. So she came from the RSPCA and we got her in July 2012. So the first thing that we had to do was fill in a form. And this just contained our personal details, where we heard about the RSPCA, the age of and the gender of the species that you wanted, how many you wanted, like a single rabbit or a pair, a little bit about your home, like if you owned or rented, and what accommodation you lived in, and what accommodation you would give the pet. They also wanted to know if we had a garden or not, and then they asked us about our family, like what other animals of the same species, so that would be Bramble, and other pets we had, and then they asked us about our lifestyle and our ideal pet. And then a home visit was arranged, so they just came over, they stood out there, and they just asked some questions and said like what would we do, and asked us some basic care questions and what kind of breed were we after and stuff like that. And then they found a match, which was Thistle, originally called Gypsy, and then we got her, and there were some leaflets and a couple of letters that we got. So this is what I got when I adopted Thistle. So the first thing here is just a letter saying thank you for your inquiry about the rabbits are fostered in private homes and the work that the fosterers put in. There's a bit about accommodation and what they accommodate their rabbits in. And there's a leaflet in there about bonding rabbits if you're looking to do that, which we were. And then there's a bit about cost, and it says they cost us in the region of £100 per rabbit in vet bills alone. And then their minimum donation is £40 for a single rabbit or £70 for a bonded pair. And then it's like thank you for your interest, and then that they don't spay rabbits until they're 6 months, so they get view vouchers for that. And then there's a bit about diet, which is basically about hay and pellets and stuff, treats, stuff like that. Then I got a bunch of the IWF leaflets. There's one about myxomatosis and VHD, and that just tells you about vaccination, how they can get it, what it does to the rabbit, and how to protect it. Then there's a bunny MOT, and it's just what a healthy rabbit should look like. And there's about bonding and why every rabbit needs a pair. So it's like the basics, where to get it from, how to introduce it, that sort of stuff. And there's a bit about what about a guinea pig, saying that you can't do that because you can't. Then there's the very popular Just Not Enough campaign, and that's just talking about companionship, space, exercise, stimulation, hatches, designs, run, safety, and fly strike. So then there's a leaflet called You and Your Bunny, And that's just about how to think rabbit. So about their instincts, exercise needs, dietary requirements, what to do with your rabbits, and is rabbit right for you? And then there's alternatives to rabbits, and then there's a note to parents, like basically saying children can lose interest. And that's that. Then there's one called The Long and the Short of It, and this is about long-haired rabbits. So basically it just explains the long-haired breeds, why it's important, short coat and long coat care, clipping, tricky bits like about young rabbits, neutered rabbits, etc. Ethical dilemmas, fly strike, and then what you can do. Read that there. Then there's a bit about getting your rabbit neutered, so why you should do this, male rabbits, female rabbits, safety, costs, pre and post operative care to rabbits, mixing and matching them, so like bonding them. And there's a business card here. And there's feeding your rabbit, so that's about hay, treats, how much you feed them, water, pellets or muesli, complementary or complete, selective feeding, calcium and vitamin D. And there's this one about the Animal Welfare Bill, and that just talks about the new law and like what you should have for your rabbit, about diet, behaviour, companionship, healthcare stuff. Then there's this one, which is about they need space, exercise, companionship, stimulation, about rabbit hutches and runs, safety, keeping outdoor rabbits healthy, fly strike. So some of this is similar to the other, no, to the hutch is not enough one. This is a rabbit right for me. This is about basic things you need to know about rabbits, what's a good home, outdoors and indoors, about like the sickness, lifespan, stuff like that. And it's about rabbits and children, where to get one, and that is something they recommend reading. And then there's one about going green, healthy eating for your rabbit. This is about the hay and greens diet, how to use shop bought food, safety points, what greens to feed baby bunnies, and poisonous plants. Just pause the video and read that if you want. And there's what's good to feed. Then there's a leaflet about fly strike, which basically just talks about if your rabbit's at risk, when it normally happens, high risk bunnies, signs, how to treat it, how to prevent it, and what the treatment consists of, and then fly killers and natural repellents. Then there's one about E. cuniculi, I don't really know how you say that, and that's basically just the parasite. And it talks about what is it, how rabbits get it, how to prevent it, health problems are associated, how can it be diagnosed and treated, can humans catch it as well. So that's everything that I got from the RSPCA when we adopted Thistle, and this was quite useful as it just gives you some basic information, things you need to know. So that's good. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about when I adopted Charlie. So he came from the National Exotic Hedgehog Rescue in February this year. So all we had to do, well, my dad did this because he was my early birthday present, was we filmed in a form, and that just included basic information about hedgehogs, like how to stop from hibernating, for example, and diet and stuff, what we would give the hedgehog, like cage and food, etc. And then we got an email saying we got accepted, and then they chose us the hedgehog, which was obviously Charlie. And yeah, so he's been fine. He's been no health issue. He is still huffy, so he's not bitey, but he's not like the friendliest of hedgehogs, really. Yeah, that's about Charlie. So I'm now going to talk about my shopping experience, and I'm going to start off with Maisie, usually. So she came from a breeder, and well, my parents went to view her when she was 3 days old, and we went to visit her every 2 weeks, and it was quite good because we got to see her parents, some other Westies that she had, and we also got to meet her cat, so that was good. And she's pretty healthy. She does sometimes get a bit of a limpy leg, but other than that, she's really good. So, and she's a lovely little dog as well. So other pets that I've got that weren't rescued were from a pet shop, and they've all been fine. Bramble was sex strong. They said he was a girl, but then we took him to the vet to get vaccination, and he was a boy. And then Crystal had glaucoma and an abscess. She's since passed away. But other than that, it's been okay. It's been quite a good experience though. So my opinion is that every animal deserves a loving home no matter where they're from. Because either way, you're saving them and you're giving them a good life. But I do believe that adopting is a wonderful thing, as you're turning their lives around for the animal and giving them a second chance. So for the last part of this video, I'm going to tell you some other people's opinions on the matter, just to make this a little bit less biased and more interesting. So what I did was I messaged quite a few people about if they could give me their opinion and share their experiences, and I got quite a few responses, so I'm going to share them. So the first one is from Leah's Little Pets, and she says, I have both adoption and pet shop animals. My opinion is all animals need a home, full stop, and even if you want pet shops to stop breeding by not buying from them, it won't happen. I don't know where I'd be without my pets. They all mean the world to me, and I'm glad I saved them from what their lives could have been. So Rosie Bunner says, I find that adopting animals is such a generous and kind-hearted thing to do, by allowing an animal to live another happier life. I believe that all animals deserve a loving new home, whether they're bought or adopted. Rosie was from a pet shop, and she's one of the best things that has ever happened to me, and is one of my best friends. It's such a tricky subject to talk about, but overall, wherever an animal is bought from, then the world has changed for the better for that one animal. So the Bunny Shed one says, I think adopting is majorly important, as it's about giving a pet a second chance at life. I rescued my bunny Ethel, and it's been the best experience of my life, and she brings joy to my life every day. People worry animals in rescues have behavioural issues, but that really isn't the case, as thousands of animals spend their lives in rescues because more babies are being bred and purchased. Don't buy while rescue animals die is a saying really close to my heart. Someone that would like to remain anonymous has said, I think both adoption or shopping is good, as at the end of the day, pet shop pets will end up in rescues if they aren't sold. I've only rescued one piggy from an owner who didn't take care of him much, and the same with the bunny too. Another person who would like to remain anonymous has said, I definitely support the Adopt Not Shop campaign, as my close friend runs a rescue. I do what I can to support rescues, and I got my first ever 2 piggies from a rescue, but I don't judge anyone for buying a pet either. Some people have a valid reason for not adopting, like there is no rescue or shelter near them, or the rescue has ridiculous rules or charges too much for adoption, or there is a particular breed you want and no rescue has. Also, not all pet stores sell neglected backyard breeder pets for profit. Some small pet stores care for their pets before they are sold. My last 2 girls were from a local pet store, where the breeder he gets them from is a show breeder who really loves and cares for them. The Silky and Teddy breeds I've wanted forever and no rescue had them, and this shop, where I buy all my pet supplies from, had them, not at once either, as the breeder doesn't have frequent litters. My bunnies and piggies said, I think that if possible you should always adopt. However, sometimes there might not be the pet you want in shelters, like around me there isn't really any hamsters in rescues. I hate to admit that I've actually bought all my pets instead of adopted. Hershey, my hamster, was in the adoption part of my pet shop, and I got Cherry, my baby bunny, from my friend who couldn't keep. So Charlie said, I believe that it's good to adopt or rescue, but if there aren't any rescues near you, and your only option is to buy from a pet shop, then that's what you should do. I would be a complete hypocrite if I said any different, as I have had pet shop hammies before, and still do with Milo. As for buying for breeders, I don't think there is anything wrong if they're reputable. Hamster, Horses and Cats says, I believe strongly in adopting. I have adopted many pets and each one has been very rewarding and special to my heart. Not only do you heal the souls of those who have had bad pasts, but you give them that chance that they need. They might not be puppies, kittens or cute baby hamsters, but they are special in their unique way and still deserve a chance. I refuse to shop for animals and I will always try to adopt wherever possible. And because of this, I have some of the most loveliest pets ever. So Lucy1666 says, I'm all for adopting and I think it's a wonderful thing to do. It gives a second chance to a pet that's had a bad start, and more people should need to adopt, otherwise more pets will keep getting put down as the rescues are bursting already. It's a lovely thing to do and makes you feel twice as good for rescuing a pet in need. Pet Care Info UK says, I think that you should always strive to adopt if possible, but if you're in a situation where you can't adopt, then I also agree with buying animals from stores or people who consider the animal's care as important. Our experience with adopting was good as we managed to find an animal that suited our criteria. We were looking for a dog that was an intelligent, athletic breed and was under 6 months old. We went to Dogs Trust and was paired up with a 4-month-old tricolour border collie. We had introductions between the dogs and also an introduction to all the family. We also had home checks and various other checks, but only 5 days later we collected little Lola. Dexter, our 4-year-old Siberian Husky, was brought from a breeder in King's Lynn. We found them while they were advertising on an online website called Pets for Homes. We went down to visit and were nicely surprised that we were able to view the living areas, the mother, the father and an older sister who was kept back from an older litter as she had a deformity on her tail, proving that the breeder was taking responsibility for any animals that were injured or ill rather than dumping them. We chose our little boy out of the litter and came to collect him 2 weeks later when he was 11 weeks old. Finally, Tilky, my chocolate tortoise shell Syrian, was brought from our local pet shop, which has since unfortunately closed down. I'd been researching hamsters for a few months prior and walked into my local pet shop to inquire if they had any Russian dwarfs for sale. The lady that owned the shop said they didn't have any, so me and my friend and I went to look at the animals as we usually did. We stopped at the hamsters as there was one who was attempting to climb on top of her water bottle. The lady asked if I would like to hold her. Of course I said yes. From that moment onwards I knew I had to have her. We got to meet one of the Syrian's brother, who was a long-haired dove bandit, but I was set on getting the female already. A week later my dad came to visit her and we reserved her. I especially liked this pet shop as they were a family-run business that bred all their own animals: mice, rats, budgies, cockatiels, hamsters, rabbits. I'd known the shop for 2 years before we got Tilky from there and knew the owner well. When we picked her up, Tilky, we were given a care booklet written by the lady who owned the store and asked to sign some paperwork saying that we'd look after Tilky until old age and take her to the vets if she needed care. I still have the booklet to this day. Tilky is coming up to 16 months and no medical issues so far. I couldn't be happier with the way we got any of our pets and agree with both adopting and shopping as long as you go to reputable places. So Hannah says, I personally feel it's not as simple as saying it, adopt, don't shop, for everyone's situation. Some people may live in rural areas and don't have access to shelters or adoptable hamsters, in which case they have no choice but to buy. With that said, I fully support and encourage adoption and choose it for myself. After adopting 13 hamsters and knowing the feeling, I could never imagine buying from a store ever again. Even if it means waiting 6 months, it's always worth it to me. No matter where a hamster comes from, it isn't a reflection of whether that person will love them any more or less. It's mostly personal preference, but I do hope that everyone at least tries to adopt as often as possible. Especially if the choice is available, I see no reason to choose otherwise. So that's the end of this video. I hope this helped you and you found this enjoyable. And that's it. And don't forget to comment, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!